Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Radio. Looking for another good day of geekiness today. We're going to get into what is a good computer RPG. Got a roundtable discussion coming. Before, we're going to do the notes that I always throw out, and then we'll do a news segment. Then we'll hit a break, and when we come back, we're going to dig into what does make a good computer RPG. I'm Shane Stacks, of course. I'm your host. This is Shane Plays Radio, a journey into the things you love. So, or actually, that geeks love. And if you're listening to this, you're probably a geek, so the things that you love. So don't forget the show notes and links for today's show are always on shaneplays.com. That's shaneplays.com. That's Shane, like my name's Shane. Plays like I like to play stuff, not like it's my place where I hang out. It's like I play. So shaneplays.com. The show will also go out the next couple of days as a podcast, and that'll be posted to shaneplays.com. It's also on iTunes and Stitcher and other fine podcast directories. And don't forget that we're also on Krypton Radio. KryptonRadio.com is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. That's, again, KryptonRadio.com. And we're a week delayed. It's actually a week delayed at the exact same time this show goes out live. But we're working on getting that live. So, and I think that's it. I'm wanting to do a quick news segment. The last couple of news segments have gone quite a while. So I'm going to try to get through this one quick, hit the break, and when we come back, we'll hit the main topic of discussion, which is what makes a good computer RPG. But first, I'm going to check in with my producer, Zach. Man, did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yes, I did.
Did you eat some turkey? Did you eat some turkey?
No, I don't like turkey.
You don't like turkey?
No, sir.
I am like traditional Thanksgiving guy. I like all the turkey, cranberry sauce, dressing, pumpkin pie, all that. You don't need. What did you eat?
Macaroni and cheese.
That was your whole Thanksgiving?
Yes, sir.
You are a college student, if I've ever heard of one, man. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you anyway. Did you at least gobble it up?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good. All right. Well, if you want, Zach, you can banter with me during the news segment because I always try to, you want to be a sports analyst, so I always try to give you airtime. So feel free. Okay, so let's, hold on. Zach is getting distracted, but we need the news sound. Zach, we need the news sound. News sound. Thanks, buddy. Those hard-working news team guys. So I've actually got a little bit of news on Sal. Remember I said he had to go underground because the mob was trying to put a hit on him? Here's what happened. It was all a big misunderstanding. And I love my news team. They work on Saturdays. So here's what happened. He was doing a story on the mob of shoppers expected to buy games on Black Friday. And the mob got confused and thought he was doing a story on the mob. So they put a hit out on him. They're trying to whack him. And it's all a big misunderstanding. So Sal's trying to get through to the big boss to have a sit down and work it all out. So I hope that works out for Sal. But here's the news that the news team has dug up. First, folks, just like last week, keep listening. Later in the show, I'm going to give details on how you can win a free copy of the D&D game Sword Coast Legends. That's the computer version. We have talked to the folks, Chris Perkins and Ash from InSpace a couple of weeks ago about that game. But listen later in the show. Next news item. Arvan Eleron, also known as fantasy author and Twitch streamer Gregory A. Wilson, who we've had on the show a couple of times, streamed a special D&D. Now, this is tabletop D&D, not computer D&D. He streamed a special D&D event with author and some of his author friends and living legend Ed Greenwood, who we've also had on the show talking about the Ed Greenwood publishing group. But this was like a 6-hour game of tabletop D&D that Ed Greenwood, the creator of the Forgotten Realms and Elminster, DM'd. So that's pretty cool. And you can always go to shaneplays.com and find links to this, including the YouTube video for that. So also, this is really cool. My friend Matt Barton with Matt Chat, his internet YouTube interview show on computer game history, role-playing games, etc. He had another friend of mine, Johnny Wood, on his show recently. And what Johnny has done is he's taken the classic Ultima games, Ultima 1 through 4, and he's made them multiplayer. So you can go to shatteredmoon.com and learn more about that. But if you want to watch the interview with Matt and Johnny, those links are at shaneplays.com on the show notes. So make sure to check that out. Here's a piece of news, because this show, it does go out as a podcast and it's online, but it originates out of Little Rock. And the creator, Zach, do you know the video game Centipede, the arcade game? Okay, it's classic. Go get Russ. I saw Russ walk by. Russ will know it. But the Centipede, the creator of Centipede, Donna Bailey, teaches right here at UALR in Little Rock. And she was the only woman in the arcade division at Atari in 1980. So that's pretty cool. Did he know? You know Centipede, right, Russ? Here it comes. I think you're going to.
Yeah, I know Centipede.
Okay, so did you know that the creator of Centipede, Donna Bailey, teaches right here at UALR?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to get her on the show. There was an article in the Arkansas Times about that. So that's pretty neat. I'm going to try to grab her. What are you doing up here on a Saturday anyway?
Somebody called me about a problem.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're like the cleaner. You're the guy that call in.
I'm a real big problem right now.
What, talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't that bug you?
No, you talking to me?
No, I mean what you're hearing in your ears.
No, I've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
That slight delay. Yeah, I've gotten used to
I
it.
tell you what, Zach, put the profile or put it on program. There you go.
Okay. There
Now,
we go.
is that better?
That's better.
That's
Russ
much
is the
better.
cleaner. We call him the cleaner. The people listening can't tell the difference. But did you know, as long as you're in here, Russ, did you know there's that animated show Teen Titans? Teen
Yes.
Titans Go? Well, guess who they got to do the voice of Darkseid, the big baddie?
I don't know who.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Seriously?
Seriously. Yeah, I watched the clip. It's pretty funny. People can go to shaneplays.com. And
It's bad enough that they got him to sing as a monk on Gallivant.
well, here's what they did. Yeah, I saw some of that Gallivant. Or was it Gallivant? Galahad? Galahad?
Gallivant.
Gallivant.
Season
That was
2
the
coming up
that
in
was the
January.
musical comedy Middle Ages
Yeah.
show, right? Okay. So what
it's coming back.
is it? I
Yeah.
saw like 2 episodes of it. It was pretty cute, or clever, I should say, not cute. But here's the setup for Weird Al. That the Teen Titans are facing Darkseid, and he's all like, "I will destroy you." You know, you got a better deep voice than I do.
I will destroy
Exactly. Yes, that right there. So, and then they're like, "Hey, your voice is kind of scratchy." So Starfire gives him a throat lozenge, and then his voice immediately turns into Weird Al Yankovic's voice. He's like, "Man, I've been dealing with that for years." And then he's like, "I'll throw you into the fires of doom," and they're not intimidated because he sounds like Weird Al.
Yeah.
So is pretty cute. That's on shaneplays.com. People can check that out. So a couple more pieces of news, then we're going to hit a break, and then we're going to get back with our panel, our power panel, if you will, of people are going to be talking about what is a computer RPG or what makes a good one. There's a show out there called The King of Kong. It's a documentary. And it's about 2 guys going head to head on being the best at Donkey Kong Jr., I think, or it may be Donkey Kong, the main Donkey Kong. Well, there was a guy in there named Billy Mitchell who's become kind of famous because of the documentary. And do you know the Regular Show? Have you ever heard of the Regular Show?
No, I can't.
It's
say that.
okay. Zach has given a big thumbs up. Well, it's one of those. It's almost like Adventure Time or whatever. It's
As
kind of
opposed to the decaf show.
yeah, exactly as opposed to the decaf. And but anyway, so on this show they had a giant floating head on the show that Billy Mitchell thought looked like him. So he sued the show. He sued the Regular Show people, And the judge declared that Mitchell is not a giant floating head, contrary to belief, and tossed out the case. So there you go. If you've never seen The King of Kong, you should go watch it. It's a great documentary, really good documentary.
I was listening to XM yesterday and had it on the Jazz Channel, and it just brought back endless hours of Cowboy Bebop to me.
Oh yeah. See, I like the animation of Cowboy Bebop, but the story has
me.
Yeah, well, the music is good, but I never got into Cowboy Bebop because I have to have a little bit of story that makes sense, and there was no story in that show. What was the story?
The story was the guy was out running around chasing down Universal baddies.
Okay, so there was a story.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You've got to watch it from
A
to Z to get all of this stuff.
Okay.
Because it just there were parts in there that carried over from episode to episode B to episode.
It didn't make any sense. Okay, I'll give it a shot.
And you didn't catch it. And then you've got the three old guys that are hanging around in the bar all the time, drinking tequila and doing nothing but telling war stories.
Well, so
and they just show up at the oddest of times
and just kind of appear. All right. Well, I know the one universal thing that everybody brags on that show is the music. So
yes.
Anyway, all right. I'm trying to. I've letting the last couple of news segments get out of hand, so I'm gonna from Star Wars stay on target. I got to bring us back on target. But thanks for that Cowboy Bebop update there, Russ.
Not an update, dude. That show's older than dirt.
Well, an update to me on checking it out again. Yeah. So, all right, and then a couple more news items, and then we'll hit the break. The Legends of Tomorrow premiere date is announced. That's the new show on the CW that's sort of taking characters from the Arrow and Flash TV show and going to make a team show where they're traveling through time and fighting Vandal Savage.
What was I watching? I was watching. I actually started catching up on Flash last night, and the barista that
she's Hot Girl.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
She just doesn't know it yet, or does
I guess because they finally Cisco gets visions.
Yeah.
And it's been out for a couple of weeks, so I guess that's not a spoiler. She's Hot Girl. So, and her and Hawkman are going to be in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So poor Cisco, because they seem to be hitting it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess he's going to strike out again. Poor Cisco. So anyway, it's going to premiere on January 21st on the CW, and there's a trailer out. It's like a 2-minute trailer. It looks pretty good. Once again, people can go to shaneplays.com and check that out. And then speaking of trailers, Captain America Civil War trailer is out. Have you seen that yet?
Oh, yeah, I did.
What did you see it, Zach? What'd you think?
Look cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I thought it looked cool. There were two things that were interesting. One was that scene where Cap and Winter Soldier are double teaming on Iron Man. And the other thing I liked even more was we got to see the Black Panther.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember that, Russ? Seeing the Black Panther? That looked really cool. So, all right. And then finally, last piece of news. Zach, hit us with that fanfare, buddy. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah.
Like the 1970s.
Yep.
Standing around the big dome theater down there at the corner of Asher and University.
I never went. I heard many legendary stories about that theater, but I never saw.
Dude,
I never saw it.
Lined all the way around it like 3 times
to see it. Yeah,
to get in to see it.
I heard. Was that the Cinema 150? What'd they call that?
Yeah, the Cinema 150.
Yeah, that domed kind of round. But anyway, the Star Wars countdown is 19 days, less than 3 weeks, 18 days if you bought your tickets for the night before, like I did. My wife and I are going to go see. And that is, I'm going to put a bow on the news segment. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about what makes a good computer RPG. All right, take us to a break, Zach.
Megawars.net. The classic online space strategy game has returned, bigger and better than ever before. Scout the universe and claim your empire. Construct, customize, and launch dozens of different starships. Battle thousands of opponents online in a team-based competition leading to the ultimate battle of the galaxies. Grab your slot today in one of the most hotly anticipated indie games of 2015. Visit Megawars.net and get options only available during our pre-sale event running now. Megawars.net.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays, a journey into the things that geeks love. Geek Talk Radio. Normally I throw out a phone number, but we're going to have 3 or 4 people talking during this panel. So I'm going to suggest instead, if people want to make a comment, if you're listening on RPG Codex, just make a comment on the Shane Plays thread. Or you can send a comment to mention me in a tweet at Shane Plays, ShanePA or PLAYS. I'll keep an eye on that. But I think we have one person by Skype. We have 2 people on the phone. There was one person from RPG Codex whose forum name is Elzer, who was going to call in, and they have not called in to the best of my knowledge. But Elzer, if you're listening, you're still welcome to call in. Love to have you. But we do have at least one Codexer. And Zach, do we have Felipe on Skype?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, is it Felipe or Philip?
Felipe.
Felipe. Okay. Well, man, thanks so much for coming on. You hang out at the RPG Codex, so it's rpgcodex.com, and it's just a really, really active forum and website that talks about computer RPGs. And if I understand right, you're actually writing a book on computer RPGs and or doing like an ebook project. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it is a collaborative project. So I'm the editor, and it's written by various people all over the world. Like we have Chris Avalon, various people from the Codex, from the RPG Watch, that is another RPG forum, people from CD Projekt Red, from BioWare, a lot of people all over the world that are helping me with this project. And it is a book that will be freely available as an ebook. You can download it now. There's a 200-page preview done now. I'm preparing for Christmas a 300-page preview that you can freely download.
Okay, do me a favor. When the show's over, or even now, put a post on the RPG Codex forum, and I'll make sure that any links you want make it into the show notes for the show. Because a lot of people will listen to this as a podcast and see the show notes, and we'll get it out that way if you want. So,
okay.
Yeah, well, listen, thanks so much for being on. I'm going to introduce our other guests. I've got Johnny Wood. And Johnny is not only a friend of mine from way back in the 80s in high school, but he is a computer game developer. He works directly in the art. Now he's in the MMO world, MMORPG world, but he has a project, and I mentioned this during the news segment. Matt Barton interviewed him on Matt Chat, where he's got a multiplayer version of Ultima 1 through 4. And that's really neat stuff. So, hey, Johnny, what's going on, man?
How's it going?
Are you, Johnny, I think we got kind of a bad connection. You there, buddy?
I'm there.
Okay, that's better.
How's it going?
Yeah, that's good, man. Thanks for being on. If you want to tell people a little bit about yourself real quick and maybe your Ultima project, that'd be fine.
Okay, so about the Ultima project, recently we put that back out there. It had been on the internet from around 2004 to about 2011. And recently, for the 30th anniversary of Ultima 4, we put it back up for people to play. Professionally, I work for Turbine Incorporated on Dungeons & Dragons Online.
Oh, cool. And you've also spent some time on Lotro, because right? On Lord of the Rings Online, have you not also supported that game in some capacity?
Right, but indirectly. I was on the core engine team, so I actually provide work for pretty much every project across the company.
All right. And if people want to know more about the multiplayer, this isn't just Ultima 4. This is a multiplayer version of Ultima 4. They can go to shatteredmoon.com, and I believe there's a client they can download. And as long as they have the Ultimas loaded on their computer, then your client will let them play multiplayer, correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Ask you to provide the path to the original.
Okay, great. And then finally, our surprise guest is Mr. Matt Barton himself. Hey, Matt, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? So now Felipe is helping to write a book, a collaborative book on computer role-playing games, and you've literally wrote the book. Because I'm holding in my hand right now Dungeons and Desktops.
Yeah, I have it too here.
Yeah, so Felipe, have you ever gotten to talk with Matt before?
I talked to him with email, and he was kind enough to talk about my book on his show as well. He made a little message at the end. It was very kind of him. Okay. Thank you.
It was my pleasure.
All right, well, Matt, all of you guys, Matt, Johnny, Felipe, thanks so much for coming on. Let's go ahead because, it's an hour or a little bit less than an hour show, so I want to go ahead and dig in. What we're here to talk about, and Elzer, if you're still listening out there, you had said you wanted to come on. Feel free to come on at any point. I did send you the number and everything for you to call in. So check your messages on the RPG Codex. So, or you can call 501-823-0965. There you go. Now, I don't want just random people calling in today because we have so many people on the panel already. But you can tweet at Shane Plays, and I'll try to get to your comments. So first of all, guys, here's what I'd like to do. Before we could talk about what makes a good RPG, we have to establish what a computer role-playing game is, okay? So we could spend 2 hours arguing that. All right, so what I want to do...
A few years.
Yeah, we could. So what I want to do is I'd like to go with Matt Barton's definition from Dungeons and Desktops. Okay, and by the way, people can go to Matt. Look for Matt Barton on YouTube, and he's got an amazing interview series called Matt Chat. So make sure to be checking that out. So, according to Matt, he has a chapter.
I remember what I wrote in that.
Yeah, well, you said we can certainly identify several common characteristics of CRPGs, but the only thing that you got common characteristics like requirements for eating, drinking, sleeping, lighting. You got all these things in here, but you finally summed it up because there's so much argument. Like, there's levels and experience points and fighting monsters and da-da-da-da. And you said the only common factor that stretches across the entire span of CRPGs is the statistical system that determines how characters fare in combat or whatever other tasks they are asked to perform. So I guess there's CRPGs out there that don't even have levels, right? So, can we, for the sake of argument, can we basically say for the purposes that like a computer RPG is basically, like what we would all probably understand what a computer RPG is, but expand it out a little bit. Like, would we say that Fallout is a CRPG?
Talking about the original Fallout?
No, like Fallout 4. Is Fallout 4 an RPG?
An action RPG.
Yeah, I would say that's more of a hybrid.
Right. But it has a very statistical way of leveling and all of that. So I guess that could kind of come into the discussion of what makes a good one. Like, would Fallout 4 like not be an RPG, or if it is it a bad one because it doesn't stick to the main way of? I don't know. This is all opinion. There's no hard and fast answer. So, I guess what I'm saying before we get into what makes a good one, does anybody want to offer anything of like what an RPG or a computer RPG is?
That's a huge trap. I'm not going to there.
You're not going there? Okay, what about you, Johnny?
Yeah, see, I would say it has to have a leveling system because otherwise, what's the difference in that and just a strategy game?
Okay, so it's got to have a leveling system, and it has to have a statistical way for handling combat or whatever tasks the characters
are.
Assigned.
Action, reflex sort of a game.
Okay, so like Galaga is not an RPG.
No. It's probably somebody out there that would try to argue that it is.
Well, somebody might argue that it is because you can add another ship to your ship and you've leveled up your ship. But anyway,
I've heard people say, well, you play a role.
Yeah.
You play a pilot of a ship. You know?
Okay. Well, Johnny, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, just as an example, Zelda, for instance, I still wouldn't even call that game an RPG, even though you have a couple of upgrades. There's really nothing statistical about the game, therefore.
Okay, I would agree with that. I've never thought of Zelda. I think of Zelda as an arcade game that, man, it happens to save your progress.
Final Fantasy, I would say, is a lot closer.
Well, Final Fantasy is, and then you get into the Western RPG versus Japanese RPG. I would say Final Fantasy is
Dragon Warrior.
Yeah, I would say Final Fantasy is an RPG. All right, we just had a question from DeFanto on Twitter. DPHANTO said, and wants all of y'all to ask, what's your favorite aspect of Fallout 4?
Favorite aspect? I'd have to say it's just exploring all the ruins and finding all the old, the Vault-Tec stuff you find lying around. It's just kind of a neat world to explore. Lots of stuff to do.
What about you, Felipe?
I say you were talking about if Fallout 4 was how it fares as an RPG. I would say it is a good game, maybe even a great game, but it's a bad RPG. The things that it does well are the things that aren't RPGs, like the way you explore the 3D world, and not the RPG things like base building, the combat. I think that is where the game shines and what is fun to do in the game, not the things related to stats, to conversations, or quests.
What about you, Johnny? Have you had a chance to play it?
Oh, sorry. No, I haven't played it yet.
Well, my favorite part of Fallout, now, Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, hands down, are RPGs, right? Computer RPGs, hands down. But
yeah, I don't think anybody would argue that.
Yeah, it's Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4, like I said, are a hybrid of first-person shooter and RPG elements. I mean, there's definitely some very hardcore RPG elements in there, but, you know, you can run, like I was running around the Corvega car factory for 2 or 3 hours, and that's straight-up first-person shooter, you know. But my absolute favorite aspect of Fallout 4, and I would assume Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, which I have not played those two, I love the VAT system. I absolutely love going into the VAT system and doing all that. I think that's really cool. So, but moving off of Fallout 4, let's take like, you know, could we all agree that the original Gold Box Pool of Radiance, is that a good RPG? And if so, what makes it good?
It's a great RPG.
Fantastic
awesome
RPG.
one.
I saw that game for the first time at Johnny Wood's house. And my head literally, didn't literally, but it exploded. I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Because it was like the D&D rules.
Yeah, the real AD&D.
Yeah, computerized, and I could play it whenever I wanted. And like one of the things that frustrated me about sometimes playing tabletop D&D was some people would like do the rules different or argue over the rules or whatever. In the computer version, the rules were the rules, you know, and it brought rules in that maybe I wanted to play with, but that we didn't get to do on tabletop. So, but that was just a beautifully done RPG. I mean, I think
it was made by the right kind of people too, because you know you could play Dungeons and Dragons with a lot more emphasis on the social and the role playing and all that aspects. But those guys came at it from a wargaming background,
right?
Which I think is why the combat in there is so much fun.
Okay, and you know, there was something that that Johnny mentioned, and by the way, people, you've got to go listen to the interviews with Matt and Johnny talking about Ultima and multiplayer Ultima. But there's one thing that's really cool. It's talking about when Johnny reverse engineered the code and a lot of interesting things he found. But one of the things that Johnny pointed out that he really liked about Ultima was that you didn't have 45 different swords. You had like 2 swords. And you didn't have to worry about, you know, every time you picked up a sword, spending 15 minutes on comparing, you which sword do I want to use? So is that, I mean, does simplicity, does that make a better RPG, or do people like things more it seems like the games that are putting out today, people like them more complex. What do you think about that, Johnny?
Well, I still think there's a bit too much of equipment overload going on right now. I don't like the fact that after I fight a battle, there's a very good chance that now I've got a new item that's better than something else that I have, and I've got to spend some time doing inventory management. I'd rather see less of that, actually. I pointed out with Matt that some nights when I log into an MMO, I don't spend any time playing the game. I'm actually just moving items around in my inventory, putting things into my bag, getting rid of things, selling things, auctioning things. That ends up being my entire evening, and I'd rather see less of that.
That happens to me. I'll be excited, I haven't caught up on a game in a while, so I'll load up Lord of the Rings Online, or I'll load up Star Wars: The Old Republic or something, and they're like, "Oh, we've respec'd this, and you got to change." And you spend an hour going through everything, and by that time you're done. You're like, I'm worn out now, and you don't even feel like going off and playing any of the game. So, but I'm not a big. In fact, there's a post on my blog. I'm really not a huge MMO fan in general anymore. I probably spent the most time playing Lord of the Rings online, and I still have good memories of that. But WoW, I just can't get into it, and these other ones, in some ways, MMO RPGs to me do not seem to be pure RPGs. I mean, is there anybody who wants to argue that for or against?
Yeah, I would say they come more from a mud tradition.
What do you think, Felipe?
I'd say they are traditional RPGs.
They are traditional RPGs. Okay.
I think they are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, the gold box games in particular are very closely match the actual experience. So in that sense, yes, they are. But, I mean, you bring up another RPG and no.
Well, can we think of an example?
Really depends.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a huge difference between playing something like World of Warcraft and playing, say, Pillars of Eternity.
Well, big difference.
Depends how you play. That's the thing, because I began to play World of Warcraft in the vanilla Burning Crusade days, and I felt like a real RPG that had some, how can I explain, living NPCs, because I would walk into a mountain, and the quests were very important at the time, and would say, you have to find the golden chalice that is next to a tower, next to a mountain. Then you walk to that and you find someone along the way and you ask him, almost like in a Ultima game, like, oh, where is this? That the mountains, okay? And he would tell you. And I felt it was at that time, it was like the perfect RPG because you had living, breathing NPCs all around. Now it's a bit streamlined. It's like combat, raids, and all that. And that isn't a very RPG traditional thing. But the questing, I think, was very, very traditional back in the time. Very similar to tabletop.
Well, there is, in a lot of MMOs now, they've dumbed it down because they want it to be more accessible, right?
Yeah, you just follow the arrow.
Yeah, it's like you almost can't not follow the quest. Whereas, back in the days, EverQuest 1 and all that, it was you had to really figure it out. Which that appeals to a certain amount of people, and I understand if you're trying to run a business and make money, you want to appeal to more people. I get all that, but this is one of the reasons why I'm enjoying Serpent and the Stagland so much. It's not an MMO; it's a single player, but you don't all the normal stuff you think you have to figure it out all over again, and I really like that a lot. And it has an incredibly steep learning curve at the beginning, but once you get through that, I think it's a pretty great. It's probably the most enjoyable, unique RPG I've played in years, as far as just something that makes me feel like I'm playing RPGs all over again. Guys, listen, I got to take a break. Got to pay the bills. Speaking of paying the bills, what I like to do is during the break, see if you can think of an RPG that you don't like. And point out something's like, this is not a good RPG, and here's why. Because sometimes looking at what's not good kind of helps highlight what is good. But let me take a break, and then, Zach, I'm going to read the Game Goblins, and then we'll do the break and come back. Some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Conveniently located at 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. For all your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. First-time customers, mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. All right, Zach, take us to a break.
MegaWars.net. The classic online space strategy game is returned, bigger and better than ever before. Scout the universe and claim your empire. Construct, customize, and launch dozens of different starships. Battle thousands of opponents online in a team-based competition leading to the ultimate battle of the galaxies. Grab your slot today in one of the most hotly anticipated indie games of 2015. Visit MegaWars.net and get options only available during our pre-sale event running now. MegaWars.net.
The die is cast. Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions, Castles and Crusades is the original easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk Radio, a journey into things we love. We're talking, it's kind of a roundtable discussion on what makes a good computer RPG, because there's so much discussion out there, especially like in online forums about, man, this game is terrible, da-da-da. It's like, well, let's talk about what might be good and see if we can kind of isolate that. And some of it will be subjective, but, you know, maybe we can determine some objective things like we all seem to universally agree that the original Pull of Radiance is a great RPG. Before we dig back into that, I mentioned earlier we're having a contest. I'm giving away a free copy of Sword Coast Legends, which some people argue may or may not be a computer RPG, but it is the current D&D computer RPG that's out there. And go to my Facebook page, Shane Plays Facebook page, and there's a post pinned to the top, and just make a comment on that. Or you can tweet me at Shane Plays and just say Sword Coast Legends in the Twitter, and that'll be going through Monday. Monday the 30th. I'll choose that. So do that. But anyway, back to the discussion, guys. We've got about 10 minutes left. Radio goes so quickly, and I had kind of asked before the break, like maybe think of a game that you don't like. And maybe explain why. So did any of y'all have one? I'll start with Matt Barton. Did you have one that you definitely don't like?
Oh, yeah, the worst bunch. Baldur's Gate 2. Whew.
Are you joking?
What?
Yeah, I'm joking. Come on.
All right. I thought you were going to say the remake of Pull of Radiance.
Yeah, I was going to say, oh, you know me well, Shane. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Pull of Radiance, Ruins of Myth Draenor.
I have never had the displeasure of playing that. What is so terrible about it?
Well, for starters, there was actually a bug with the installer that could, I'm not kidding, literally erase your hard drive.
Well, I'm hearing different things on that. I'm hearing that's either a myth or, is that true?
No, that's not a myth.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, then once if you ever got the thing, if you ever got it to run, I mean, This is a dreadful game. It's slow. The combat.
I mean, bugs aside, is it just the story that's bad? I mean, what is it that makes it like bad? Like, because a lot of games you can get past the bugs and still enjoy them.
No, it's just the combat takes forever and it's really, really boring.
Okay. Johnny, did you ever play it? I hear it's universally panned.
I didn't actually play that one because I had already heard all the bad things about it. So
I think I want to do a let's play of it just because I hear it. So I might like MST3K it or something.
Well, there's worse games than that. But, I mean, the fact that they dared call that Pool of Radiance and make people, to believe it was going to be as good as the good old days again, and then they delivered that.
That's the
atrocity.
The worst game I'd say I ever played was EA's Lord of the Rings: The Third Age.
Was that an RPG? Like that? Was that marketed as an RPG?
It was. It's kind of questionable whether or not it's actually an RPG. But did anyone play that one?
I did not.
I played.
The Ring.
What did you think of it, Felipe?
Yeah, it was like a Final Fantasy meets Lord of the Rings, and it didn't work well.
It did not work well. Okay, it was the Lord of the Final Fantasy not working. All right. What about you, Felipe? Do you have a game that you love to hate?
Yeah, Oblivion.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
right.
And I know that Oblivion, a lot of people love that game and it has a high Metascore and all that, but I think it has something that I really hate in games. That is the compromise. Skyrim is a casual RPG, but it's a great casual RPG, and it does that. It knows what it wants.
Well, real quick, define casual RPG. What do you mean by that?
It was stats and gear and skills aren't as important. It's a game about walking around, exploring things, having fun, It's not about grinding numbers or taking elaborate quests or thinking very much about your character. It's about you, as people say, the hiking simulator. You go and you take a magical trip. And I think
I have heard on RPG Codex more than once people describe them as Bethesda's walking simulators. So are they that casual?
No, yes, they are. And the thing is, Oblivion is the fourth game. Skyrim was the fifth. It is a great casual game. Morrowind was the third one. It was a great hardcore game. It was very elaborate. You had no quest compass. You had to think all about. And Oblivion is where those both sides meet. Is a compromise. And you have a great world that has nothing very interesting and deep to meet. You have a character creation that is very complex to new players, but it doesn't offer enough depth to hardcore players. So it is that compromise that you think it is too complex to casual players and too casual to hardcore players.
Well, I think a lot of games are – I think that's and I'm using sin very loosely, not in the traditional – that's a sin that a lot of game developers are committing these days. They're trying to please everybody, and they're not making anybody happy. And that's like – that I do not agree with this assessment personally. I've played the game quite a bit and I enjoy it, but that is an accusation that's been leveled at Sword Coast Legends, that they didn't get hardcore enough for the D&D players and they didn't get casual enough for and that's they were like, hey, you didn't really deliver a D&D game, and even though if you look under the hood, there's a lot of D&D mechanics going on there, but there was a lot of backlash against Sword Coast Legends because it was not, delivered as an adaptation of the core D&D rules. So I don't know. Have any of y'all played it? Do y'all have an opinion on it?
I haven't played it yet.
Okay. I personally enjoy it, but I play it as what it is. I spent enough time in the Twitch streams and I was doing articles on the game, so I knew what was coming, and so I enjoy it for what it is. But yeah, if I was expecting a Pool of Radiance for D&D 5e, I would have been disappointed, But it could go too far the other way. Do you remember Temple of Elemental Evil, where they tried to adapt the 3.5 edition rules? They tried to do such a faithful in fact, this is one of the games I'm going to mention I think was a bad game, but has become a good game. They tried to do such a faithful adaptation of the 3.5 rules that it was way too buggy. I mean, there was just so much math and so much stuff interacting that it was just bugs like crazy. But now, if you play, the mods that have come out that fix the bugs and restore content and add content, it's a really enjoyable game. And I think it's the Circle of Eight. Some group out there called the Circle of Eight. Have y'all played the Circle of Eight version of it?
Yes.
No, I haven't played it since it came. I've only played it when it came out.
Yeah, excellent game once it was fixed. So it was rushed out the door. But what I'm trying to say is if you tried to take and make a D&D 5e game now and 100% adapt the rules, would it have been a Temple of Elemental Evil? Because Temple of Elemental Evil was a good game, but it took a big punch on the nose because it was so buggy when it first came out. So what about you, Johnny? Did you play any version of the Temple of Elemental Evil?
No, I own it, but I've never played.
I would totally recommend the.
That was Tim Kane's last great CRPG, right?
Was Tim? I'm gonna lose points here. I can't remember. Was Tim Kane involved in that one?
I'm pretty
yes,
sure
it was the director, I think.
It was okay. Well, now here's in this one, people are going to be like, I can't believe Shane is saying this. The first time I played Baldur's Gate, I would have said, and I think I played Baldur's Gate 2. I didn't play 1. I hadn't played any Infinity Engine games. At the beginning, I would have said Baldur's Gate 2 was a bad RPG. Now, let me explain why. Because I love tactical, turn-based combat. Mm-hmm. And in fact, that's one of the things I love that's one of the things I love about Fallout and Fallout 2. That's just the best implementation of tactical turn-based combat. I just love it, all the action points and all that. And it has taken me years to get used to real-time with pause. And so, the real-time with pause system was a major turnoff for me for Baldur's Gate. But now I can play it, and I've gotten used to it. Like I can play Pillars of Eternity and all that, and even basically the single-player version of Sword Coast Legends is real-time with pause. But for me, to truly deeply scratch my computer RPG itch, I want tactical turn-based combat. Do you guys have an opinion either way on that? I mean, I know Matt Barton, if it doesn't have rats,
I agree 100% with that. Yeah. I wish that to my mind, it still hasn't been done perfectly. I think the reason Pool of Radiance in those games worked well was actually because the technology was so primitive. They couldn't put in a lot of lengthy animations for spells and maneuvering. So, those battles went relatively quickly. Whereas now, the tendency is either to do it real time with pause or whatever. Or the turn-based games that are out there, they have those lengthy animations just drags on forever.
Right. Well, that was the... I haven't played it, but I've got it, and I can't wait to play it. The Divinity Original Sin 2, wasn't that one of the complaints, was the animations over and over, even though it was tactical turn-based?
You're talking about, what was the game again?
Wasn't it Divinity Original Sin 2?
No, the 2 hasn't come out yet. We have
just Divinity Original Sin. But Divinity Original Sin was a follow-up to a previous Divinity, right?
Yeah, it's a long-running series.
Okay, that's what I mean. So... wasn't that one of the complaints on that game was the animations slowed things down?
I think there was a slider for that they added later. I don't remember having any complaints about that.
All right. Okay. Johnny, you got anything to add here? Johnny is the type that will lurk and decloak it occasionally. So I'm going to decloak you. Do you have anything to add to any of this?
No, just,
do you prefer? Do you prefer real time with pause versus tactical, or do you have a preference?
I like games that let you switch between the two.
Oh.
Like Might and Magic 6, which I just recently played. You can play that fully real time, or you can pause it and go turn based anytime you want.
Okay.
Might and Magic 6, that's a great game, by the way.
Well, and and I wanted to throw out. Believe it or not, we've only got a couple of minutes left. Radio goes so quickly. I appreciate all you guys. If I had to pick my all-time favorite role-playing game ever, computer role-playing game, obviously Pool of Radiance, just because it was just like a defining moment in my gaming life. But if I had to choose, I would say the original Knights of the Old Republic. That was such a great game. And the gameplay was hit on all cylinders, and the story. We didn't even really get a chance to get into story, but that was one of the games where the story really elevated the game for me. You know, so for you guys, what's that one game?
Oh,
Fallout
boy.
2.
Fallout 2? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Felipe goes Fallout 2. What about you, Johnny? I'm going to guess you're going to go with one of the Ultimas, but...
I have to. So
Yeah.
it's probably a toss-up between Ultima 4 and Ultima 7.
And I hear that a lot from people. Those are the two biggies for Ultima. What about you, Matt? Attack of the Rats?
Oh,
Kill all rats?
Something with we didn't even get into rats. I mean, what the heck are we talking about?
Well, I did ask you. I said, you know, it's not a good game in your opinion if it doesn't have rats. In fact, Might and Magic 10, you were like, what? Because they were bagging on people for always killing rats.
Legend of Grimrock 2 is the one that has the rat. You can actually play as a ratling.
Yep.
Which that's completely awesome. I don't know. I guess my favorites, Baldur's Gate 2, was definitely up there. Might and Magic 6.
All right.
Planescape Torment. I mean,
Planescape Torment. Yeah, that's another. The story just blows it away. I didn't get a chance. We had another Twitter question from DeFanto said, what's your favorite role-playing game of the year, and why is it The Witcher 3? So I guess they're voting for The Witcher 3. But, guys, I got to wrap. I'm not going to be able to jump back on the phone and say goodbye, but thanks so much for your time today. I want to remind everybody that next week we're going to have Frontline Gaming and Warhammer. They're going to be talking Warhammer 40K, and we're always on Krypton Radio. And I want to give out the tweet of the week. The tweet of the week is... there's a guy on there that said the best AC in a game is somebody else's AC. Think about that for a second. Thanks so much for listening to Shane Plays. We'll catch you next time.